Now we are going to look at the anatomy of the vascular system. Let's see the vessels of the upper limb. So the main arteries are the subclavian artery, the axillary artery, the brachial artery, radial artery, ulnar artery, and palmar arch. So these are the main vessels or the veins of the upper limb: the subclavian, cephalic, brachial, median cubital, cephalic, the branches from the cephalic vein, radial vein, and digital veins. And we also have a internal jugular vein, brachiocephalic vein, and it originates behind the clavicle, the axillary vein, the basilic vein. These two are basilic vein, the ulnar vein, median antebrachial vein, the deep palmar arch, and the superficial palmar arch. So you have to remember these are the main veins of the upper limb. Subclavian artery, it supplies blood to the upper limb, begins in the chest as a subclavian artery. The right subclavian artery arises from the brachiocephalic trunk, while the left subclavian branches directly of the arch of aorta. When the subclavian arteries cross the lateral edge of the first rib, they enter the axilla and are called axillary arteries. The subclavian artery originates to outer border of the first rib with reference to the scalenus anterior muscle, and it has got branches. The first part is a vertebral, internal thoracic and thyrocervical trunk. The second part is costocervical trunk. The third part is dorsoscapular artery. In the axilla, we have axillary artery. It passes through the apex of axilla along its lateral wall, just underneath the pectoralis minor muscle, enclosed in the axillary sheath. At the level of humeral surgical neck, the posterior and anterior circumflex humeral arteries arise. They circle posterior around the humerus bone to supply the shoulder region. The largest branch of the axillary artery also arises here, the subscapular artery. The extent of it starts from the first ribs to the teres major. It has three parts with reference to pectoralis minor. Branches into three parts. The first part is superior thoracic. The second part is thoracoacromion and lateral thoracic. The third part is subscapular and anterior circumflex and posterior circumflex. This is the first rib where it is originating from. So this is the picture of the axillary artery originating under the first rib. So this is the anterior circumflex artery, brachial artery, the posterior circumflex artery, and the subscapular artery. Brachial artery starts from the teres major to the head of radius. It has got few branches. They are profunda branchi, superior ulnar collateral, inferior ulnar collateral. It brings nutrients to the humerus, and also radial and ulnar. So this is the ulnar, this is radial, and here is the median. So this is the anterior branch of the profunda. This is the humerus bone. The radial artery origin to between the head of abductor pollicis, the continuation into, and then it continues into the deep palmar arch. So this is the palmar arch, and you will find the radial artery here. The radial artery branches in the forearm, radial recurrent artery, palmar carpal branch, superficial palmar branch, that is in the forearm, and then in the wrist, this is the wrist, dorsal carpal branch, first dorsal metacarpal artery, and on the hand, princeps pollicis, radialis indus, and deep palmar arch. So this is the hand. These are the arteries you will see in the which is supplied by the radial artery. The ulnar artery and the radial artery lay side by side parallel to each other. So this is the ulnar, this is the radial. Okay. So larger of two terminal branches of brachial artery. Origin to transverse carpal ligament. So this is a ligament, and it continues to become as a palmar arch, superficial palmar arch. So this is the radial, this is the ulnar. Both of them continue together to become a palmar arch artery. So these are the branches of the ulnar artery: anterior ulnar recurrent, posterior ulnar recurrent, common interosseous, muscular artery, palmar carpal, dorsal carpal, deep palmar and superficial palmar arch. So this is the ulnar, the radial, the superficial palmar branch of radial artery, the deep palmar, and again this is the superficial palmar arch. The deep palmar arches, radial artery plus deep branch of ulnar at base of metacarpus and interossi covered by oblique end of the abductor pollicis, the flexor tendons of fingers and lumbricus. The superficial ulnar plus superficial brachial artery at distal border of external thumb and three common palmar digital branches. So this is the common palmar arteries. These all are common palmar arteries. Now we are going to look at the arteries of the head and neck. The main artery is aorta, common carotid artery, external carotid artery and internal carotid artery. So these are the main four vessels in between the head and the neck, which is of great importance. And these are the main veins of the head and neck: the exterior veins of face, the veins of neck, and dural venous sinuses. So now let's look at the common carotid artery. The right is a terminal branch of the brachiocephalic behind the sternoclavicular joint. The left arises in the thorax from the arch of aorta. It runs upwards and backwards with the carotid sheath, ends at the upper border of the thyroid cartilage, opposite the disc between the third and the fourth cervical vertebrae by dividing into internal and external carotid. So this is the arch of aorta. The right common carotid, the left common carotid, the left subclavian and the right subclavian. The internal carotid artery, one of the two terminal branches of the common carotid artery. It begins at the upper border of the thyroid cartilage, divided into four parts: the cervical part, the petrous part, the cavernous part, and the cerebral part. The cerebral part of internal carotid, it has got about four branches. They are ophthalmic artery, anterior cerebral artery, middle cerebral artery, posterior communicating, and anterior choroidal. So this is a picture of your brain. So these are the structures between the external and the internal carotid. It's like deep part of carotid gland, styloid process, styloglossus muscle, stylopharyngeus muscle, glossopharyngeal nerve, pharyngeal branch of the vagus nerve. So this is the pharyngeal branch of the vagus nerve. This stylopharyngeus, and this is glossopharyngeal. So this is styloglossal. These are the structures between the external and internal carotid. So this is a picture of the external carotid artery. So this is the external carotid artery. Now what are the branches of external carotid artery? It gives 8 branches which may be grouped as given below. The 3 anterior, that is superior thyroid, lingual and facial. The 2 posterior, that is occipital and posterior auricular, and 1 medial, that is ascending pharyngeal, and 2 terminal, maxillary and superficial temporal. The lingual artery arises from the opposite the tip of greater corner of the hyoid bone. Hyoid bone lies in the carotid triangle. Forms characteristic loop or bend which is crossed by the hypoglossal nerve. These are the lingual branches. The second part lies deep to the hypoglossus. The third part, called arteria profunda or deep lingual artery, runs upwards along the anterior border of the hypoglossus and then forward on the under surface of the tongue. So this is the tongue, under the tongue. Now, what is the clinical significance of the carotid arteries? The common carotid artery is often used in measuring the pulse. When people collapse suddenly, the first pulse we check is the carotid pulse, especially in patients who are in shock and who lack a detectable pulse in the more peripheral arteries of the body. The carotid artery should be palpated gently and while the patient is sitting or lying down. Stimulating its baroreceptor with low palpitation can provoke severe bradycardia or even stop the heart in some sensitive person. So that's why in case of a collapse or an arrest, the main artery you palpate for pulse is the carotid artery. The internal jugular vein begins in the jugular foramen as a direct continuation of the sigmoid sinus, descends in the neck with the carotid sheath lateral to the internal common carotid arteries. It ends behind the medial end of the clavicle by joining the subclavian vein to form the brachiocephalic vein. Its branches or the tributaries are inferior petrosal sinus, common facial vein, lingual vein, pharyngeal vein, superior thyroid vein, and middle thyroid vein. So this is the inferior petrosal sinus, common pharyngeal vein, facial vein, oblique jugular vein, then lingual vein, superior thyroid vein, and middle thyroid vein. Now let's look at the thyroid gland. It is located in the lower part of the front and sides of the neck. It is roughly H-shaped vertical limbs. H-shaped vertical limbs represent the two lobes and the horizontal limb, H-shaped. So this is the thyroid gland. It is roughly H-shaped. The vertical limb represents the two lobes and the horizontal limb of the isthmus. It lies between 5th, 6th and 7th cervical and 1st thoracic vertebrae. Each lobe extends from the middle of the thyroid cartilage to the fourth or fifth tracheal rings. So these are called the tracheal rings. The isthmus lies opposite the second, third and the fourth tracheal ring. So this is the isthmus of thyroid. These are the lobes of thyroid, the left and the right lobe of thyroid. And this small tube is called trachea. Each lobe is conical in shape, having apex, base and three surfaces, that is lateral, medial and posterior. The two borders are anterior and posterior. Apex directed upwards, this apex directed upwards, limited superiorly by the attachment of the sternothyroid muscle to the oblique line of the thyroid cartilage. So this is the oblique line of the thyroid cartilage. The base is on the level with the fourth or fifth tracheal rings or cartilage. The lateral surface is convex and is covered by sternothyroid, sternohyoid, superior belly of omohyoid and anterior border of the sternomastoid. The venous drainage, superior thyroid vein and end in the internal jugular vein. The middle thyroid vein ends in the internal jugular vein and the inferior thyroid vein descend in front of the trachea and drain into the left brachiocephalic vein. So this is the internal jugular vein, the middle thyroid vein, left innominate vein, and this is superior vena cava SVC. So this is the thyroid. Now we are looking at the lower limb, that is the main artery is femoral artery. It is the main artery of the lower limb, enters the femoral triangle between the inguinal ligament at the mid-inguinal point. It runs downward and medially successively via the femoral triangle and adductor canal. At the lower end of the adductor canal, it leaves the thigh via the adductor hiatus to go into the popliteal fossa where it continues as popliteal artery. This femoral artery is represented by the upper two-thirds of a line joining the mid-inguinal point to the adductor tubercle. The thigh is slightly flexed, abducted and laterally rotated. So these are the branches of the femoral artery. Femoral artery, it goes into the femoral triangle. It has got three superficial branches. They are superficial epigastric artery, superficial circumflex artery, superficial external pudendal artery. The deep three branches are profunda femoris artery, deep external pudendal artery, and muscular branch. And in the adductor canal, it has muscular branch and descending genicular artery. So these are the branches of the femoral artery. So this is the pelvic cavity. This is the femoral artery coming out via the inguinal area. Okay. So these are the branches. So this is deep femoral artery. This is the main femoral artery and this is the superficial femoral artery. This is where you try to take blood for checking the arterial blood gas.